Okay, so Andrew asked me to speak on relationships and, guys, girls, purity, all that kind of stuff. And I had to think about that. I'm like, purity's just not my thing. I didn't really enjoy the purity talks growing up. I'm going to be honest. I don't really know why. I just didn't. There was never anything in them that was like, oh my word, that was the nugget that's going to keep me pure for the rest of my life. Because ultimately, honestly, it comes down to a choice, and it comes down to your walk with the Lord. So I'm going to be a little unconventional, and I'm going to take a backdoor approach to talking about purity and relationships. And a lot of it is just going to be based on my story and what God taught me in my story. And for those of you that don't know, I was single for 13 years before God brought Curtis into my life. So it's quite some time, but we will get around to talking about relationships, but I'm going to focus in on singleness. Singleness means the absence of a relationship, though. So how is this going to work out? But we'll figure it out as we go, so sit tight. But I do want some transparency. I want some interaction from you guys. So let's talk about daydreaming. Do you guys like to daydream? Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, okay. Everybody's like, oh, yeah. Oh, wait, maybe I don't. Oh, maybe that's a trick question. No. What do you like to daydream about? Anybody? Shout it out. Boys, yeah. Okay, honesty right off the bat. I love it, Reagan. Boys, awesome. Okay, we like to daydream about boys. Okay, what else? Anything else? Or food. Okay, awesome. Daydreaming about food. If you ask my husband, he feels like my life is like all about food because we finish lunch and then I'm like, okay, what's for dinner? So, but it's not because I'm all about the food, but I have to get that ready, and so I want to know what's coming. So anyway, I digress. Okay, so some of our daydream thoughts are light. Some of them probably are a little bit heavier. But would you probably agree that a lot of times the things that we daydream about are the things that we desire? Going back to what Reagan shouted out, if we're daydreaming about boys, then we're probably desiring maybe a relationship, right? Yes, maybe. Would you all agree with me on that? What is your deepest desire right now? Does anybody want to share a deep, dark desire of their heart right now? To be done with school. Okay, great. I love that. Anybody else? A boy? Okay, no, we're not going to say that. Okay. No one's going to admit that. Okay. What about your future? What's a plan that you have for your future? Like, let's think 6 years from now, 10 years from now. What's a plan? What do you think is going to be part of your future? Anybody? 2 kids. Cool. Anybody else? That's it? Oh, good. Okay, good. I mean, thank you, Sawyer. Good to know you're going to do it in the right order. Praise the Lord for that. Okay. What? In the correct order. Praise the Lord. Anybody else? Just kids? That's it? That's all we're, no? Traveling? Oh, I like that. Traveling a lot. Okay, cool. College. Okay, great. Yeah, college. Okay. Anybody else? Have a good job. Okay, good. Good. Okay, so all these things are really, really good. I mean, it is kind of a natural part of life, is it not? I mean, you go to school, then you go to college, and then you get some kind of job, some kind of boy shows up, some kind of kids show up, maybe you go back to work. Maybe you go back to work, maybe you don't. You have some grandkids, and then you retire, right? I mean, that's kind of the natural progression of life, but we all have this longing for something, and a lot of you guys are pointing out, boys, obviously longing for boys. Oftentimes, that's what we dream about. It's what we fix our hearts and our energies toward. But most of the time, especially at your age, a big part of your dream and your desire is for a relationship and for marriage and for kids. And maybe, if we're honest, I think even back in high school, I remember really desiring sex. That's okay to say, right? It's not a bad thing to desire intimacy and to desire some kind of feeling and desire that with a man, but it's what we do with that that really, really matters. So it's not necessarily bad to have that desire, because it was definitely something I thought about. I am not going to lie. I was like, this is going to be awesome, especially the movies. I mean, let's be honest. They make it seem like it is so magical and amazing, and then it's like not like that at all. So we'll just throw that out there right there. But anyway, but what happens if all those dreams, all those things that you desire, and all those things are going to naturally line up? 4 years of college, right out of college, I'm going to get married, probably 5 years later because I want to do the traveling. The kids are going to come. Then we're going to have 2 or 3 kids, the White House, picket fence, all that kind of stuff. What do we do? What do you do with that if none of that comes true? Or better yet, what if those things do come true and you find yourself going, okay, this isn't enough. Like, this is not fulfilling what I thought. This isn't what I thought it was all cracked up to be. What do we do with ourselves there? So I'm going to actually start by unpacking my story, and then I'll explain to you why singleness really helped prepare me for marriage, how to stay pure in my relationship, and even just for every really thing in life. So my story, growing up, me and God had a really good thing going on. I had a lot of great things happening. I just loved my life. I loved high school. I did have some really bad relationships to start off with when I was a freshman, sophomore, but God really kept me pure, and I'm very thankful for that. It is all the Lord, because I just really wasn't where I needed to be in my walk with the Lord. And he really showed me that, relationships weren't the bee's knees, and so I was going to focus on doing the fun things. I was going to focus on high school. I was going to focus on having fun, doing the activities. I went to college. College was great. I loved Cedarville. It was some of the best 4 years of my life. And while I was there, I got to do student government, and I just got to do all these things. It was really cool. God really was just gave me a really fun life. I just really loved everything about it. And I'm like, oh, God's going to bring me someone someday. So imagine my disappointment when college, gets done, and every single one of my friends gets married, like literally the year after we're done. And all of a sudden I'm working, and all of my stinking money was going to their weddings. I was just like, I was broke because I was in all these weddings. I was going to all these weddings all over the place. And here I am done with college, and I'm like, okay, everybody knows what they're doing. They're getting married, and they have this future, and like the kids and the whole white picket fence, and what about me? So I quickly found myself very disappointed. I was like, God, we had a good thing going on. What happened? Like, where are we going with this? I had no purpose, no direction. And then imagine when your youth kids, so you're a youth leader someday, and then your youth kids that you were your youth leader for, they start getting married. That was a big ouch. I'm like, okay, now they're getting married and I'm not. Like, God, what is going on here? Like, this is not how it's supposed to work out. Like, everybody, you seem like you're doing great things for other people, but what are you doing for my life? I found myself very lonely, lacking joy, lacking happiness, peace. You name it. I really found myself wrestling with God. And it was in that wrestling and in that fighting and in those tears, in those loneliness and disappointment, all the unfulfilled expectations, the loss of control, the lack of hope for my future, that is when God met me. And he taught me so much. Sorry, I get emotional about it because it's pretty awesome. Okay, so my journey was singleness, and it was 13 years. I had to wait 13 years post-college for the Lord to bring Curtis into my life. And I know that most likely will not be your story. Most likely the Lord will bring someone to you right out of college or right away, and most people don't have to walk through those years of singleness, but you are single right now. So that's why this is important, because right now, okay, you may have a boyfriend, that's fine, but you are not legally bound to him. So for right now, you are single. And so a lot of this can apply to you right now, and I encourage you to really, really lean in and listen to how God met me in my desires and in my wanting for a relationship. So what was the first thing that I feel like God taught me? I don't know if you guys were listening on Sunday, but Pastor Pat actually used the quote that I love, and it's one of my favorite ones, and he used it in the sermon on Sunday. It's from Augustine. Thou hast made us for thyself, O Lord. Our hearts are restless until they find its rest in thee. God taught me through that time that only God can fully satisfy your deepest need. There is a huge God-shaped hole in your heart that only God can fill. No other person, no other job, no other food. Although a good Starbucks, I'm not going to lie, for like good 5 minutes while I'm drinking it. It does kind of fill me up for right then, but then I'm left wanting. So, that eventually goes away as well. But that statement doesn't say we are restless until we find our rest in our people or our plans or our desires or a boy, or that we find even our satisfaction in sex, which is really great. No, we don't find our satisfaction. We only find it in the Lord. And so what is it that you're looking for your satisfaction? And when we think about it, there's a lot of things I think that we turn to, right? Even like TikTok. Come on. Does that not make you joyful and smile and be like, okay, at the end of the day, all I want to do is turn my mind off and turn on TikTok and laugh for the next hour? So it can be anything as small as that to entertainment, social media, friends, boys, busyness, trying to control things. I don't know why, but I find so much satisfaction. Because, hell, I'm administratively wired, so when everything lines up, I find so much satisfaction in that. And a lot of times, I can lean even into that for my satisfaction, but that leaves us wanting. We want life to go the way we want it to, don't we? But what do you do if it doesn't? And what do you do if you don't really get what you want? Or maybe on the flip side of that, say you do get what you want, and you do get that boyfriend that you were hoping that you would have, or you do get that answer to prayer for a job, and you do get, you do get a kiss, your first kiss. But then all of a sudden that leaves you wanting more, and you still have that ache. What do you do with that? What do you do with that longing in your heart? I remember in some of my earlier days of being single, it was probably right in the center of it. There would be times, and honestly, guys, I was just so thankful for it, but I would find myself just flat out on my floor so many times, and I would just be a puddling tears of mess. I don't really know why. It seems so funny to me now looking back that singleness can do that to you, but it did. I was lonely. I still had this ache to have someone in my life, and God was just not bringing it. And I would just fall on my face on the floor, and I just would cry and cry and cry. I'm like, Lord, where are you? I need you. Are you going to do anything for me? Are you going to provide anything for me? And every single time, guys, I would get this overwhelming sense. I just can't even explain it. And it was the Lord. The Lord would just invade my tears. He would invade my cries. And he would comfort my heart, and he would give me joy. And all of a sudden, I would feel like my tears were done. And why? Because the Lord was sitting there telling me, you have me. You have all that you need in me. The reason that you're lonely right now is because all you're sitting here thinking about is what you don't have. You have me. Spend your time with me. Invest in me. God will fulfill the desires of your heart, and God will meet you in those sad, hard, broken places when you're just sitting there is God for me? And does God even care? He does, and he meets you there. And it was in those moments that he answered my prayer. And he didn't answer my prayer by all of a sudden fixing my situation. He answered my prayer by giving me more of himself. And that is the thing that sustained me and got me on through the rest of the days. And maybe 3 months later it would happen again, and we'd find ourselves back in that circle again. But it was always because my eyes were taken off of Jesus and onto the things that I didn't have or that I wanted or that I had but wasn't actually fulfilling me. At the end of the day, my heart was longing for God, and that was all that I need. So in your hurt or in your longing or in your want or in your desire, turn to him or let it drive you to your knees and find yourself in a puddle of tears on the floor. It's okay. God can handle your tears. He can handle me saying, what's up, God? What are you doing? As long as I do it in a spirit of still trusting him. Some of my favorite verses during that time: as the deer pants for streams of water, so my soul pants for you, my God. My soul thirsts for you, for the living God. Psalm 42, 1-2. So pursue him like he is the living water and the daily bread that you need. That's what that's saying. When the deer's thirsty, it pants, it runs, it goes. When you need God, run. Run to him. He's the life that you need. In your presence, oh God, there is fullness of joy. At your right hand are pleasures forevermore. Psalm 16:11. But you have to be in his presence to get any kind of fullness of joy. You can never have too much of God. That is the crazy thing. As much as I love my husband, sometimes I need a break from him. I never need a break from the Lord. You can never have too much of the Lord. So what are you running to? What are you turning to? What is it that fills you up? Where do you look for? What are you looking for satisfaction? Let that be God. Let God fill every single orifice of your being. I love the Psalm 145:16. You open your hands and satisfy the desire of every living thing. Do you believe that? Do you believe that God can satisfy the desire of every living thing, of you? Without full trust in him, so I'm thinking of trust like a hammock. So you sit in a hammock, you don't just you don't sit stiffly. You have to right, lean into a hammock. It takes your full weight. That's what God wants. But it's impossible to be fully satisfied in anything unless you're fully satisfied in him. Think of that large meal. You stuff yourself and then you're just I am so full, I can't eat anything else. But then dessert comes along and you're like, oh my word. Well, for me, it would be a really good coffee drink or something. I guess I like dessert, but and then you're I think I might have room for that. So God should be our full meal. We should be filled, our cup should be filled to the fullness of God so that when the boy comes or when the best friend comes or when that perfect job comes, it's overflowing. Your cup is so full, it's I can't even think of the geyser at, where's that place? Yellowstone, thank you. Where it's that should be all the other stuff that God gives us. That should be our life because we're so full with the Lord. Okay, my second point. He is enough. My identity should be in him. So I remember, I don't even remember when it was, but I remember one time driving home from my old job. I used to work for a company called America's Family Coaches. And I would, every single time I'd leave, I'd pick up the phone and start calling through my list of friends. Because all I wanted to do was be relational and talk to all my friends. And I remember one day, it was just an extra needy day, and no one answered the phone. Every single person I called and picked up with didn't answer my phone. And I just remember feeling so lonely. And I remember exactly where I was when I was driving in the car, and I heard God almost whisper to me, he's you are not alone. I'm here with you. I will never leave you. And he asked me, I almost sensed him, I know God does not speak out loud, but I felt in my spirit, the Lord said, if I give you nothing, if I give you no other person, if all your friends leave, if I don't give you the desires of your heart, will I be enough? And I just remember I was just kind of arrested because I'm I don't know if I could have said that at that moment. I wanted Jesus plus my friends. I wanted Jesus plus someone to listen to me. I wanted Jesus plus someone to know the desires or the secret things of my heart. I wanted Jesus plus, you name it, and it wasn't just Jesus. And so if God gives you nothing else in this life, if God doesn't give you the desires of your heart, will he be enough for you? I'm not saying that he will. I'm sure he probably will. He wants to give us good things. That's the amazing thing about God. But if he doesn't, is he enough for you to just say, for the rest of my days, if it's just me and you, God, I'm going to be okay? It took 13 years, I think, for me to finally get to that point. But what do you need to surrender? What are you holding on to? Psalm 73:25 says, whom have I in heaven but you? And there is nothing on earth that I desire beside you. My heart and my flesh may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. Do you come to God like he's a genie in a bottle? If you rub the bottle, God, I need you today. Will you do this for me? Do you go to him because of what he can do for you or because of who he is to you and for you more than what he can give you? Because he wants all of you. So can you surrender? Can you say that he's enough? And Lord, if you give me nothing else in this world, I'm content with you. It is a really, really freeing experience when you can actually say that. Now, I'm not saying I did any of this perfectly because I feel like every single day I had to come back to, okay, Lord, you are enough, okay. You do satisfy. So I did not do this perfectly. But when I found myself struggling, I had to go back to these things. Okay, I'm struggling. So, okay, am I finding my satisfaction in you, Lord? Okay, I'm struggling. Do I realize that you're enough for me? And the final thing, he has a plan. He's at work even when you don't see it. So why was I so disappointed and sad and lonely? Is because I felt that God wasn't for me, that my life wasn't going my way. Those were all my plans, and he was just disappointing my plans. But really, his plans are all on schedule. There's so many sweet verses in the Bible about his plans for us. Some of my favorite, Psalms 139:16. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days of my life were written in your book before one of them came to be. I find that verse so amazing. He has every single day of your life written out before you were even born. Like, we can trust him for what he has for us. For I know the plans I have for you, Jeremiah 29:11. You guys probably know this. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope in a future. Our expectations often lead to our greatest frustrations. When my expectations are not met, that's usually when I get the most frustrated, right? I mean, I thought Mom was going to take me to the mall today. She didn't, so I'm like super frustrated and I'm super upset, right? But our expectations are not God's expectations, they're ours. God has different expectations for our life. So would you be willing to set aside what you think is best, the plan that you think is best, and trust God for your life? He has a dream far beyond what you could ask or imagine. It's one of my favorite verses, Ephesians 3:20. He can do abundantly beyond what you can dream. Now, I thought I could dream some pretty cool things, but I think I want what God can dream for me. So let him lead you in that. Okay, so now the rest of my story and kind of how this ties in, I think, to singleness and dating relationships, purity. So obviously, after 13 years of waiting, a guy by the name of Curtis Johnson sits me down and asks me out. And you would think that after all of that time of waiting and wanting, a guy as awesome and handsome and cute and funny and hot as him would make me just swoon, Like, that's what I've been wanting, right? I mean, I've been struggling for 13 years, and this guy sits me down who just loves Jesus. Why am I not swooning? It was quite the opposite. It was a struggle. One of my best friends is in the room, and she can attest to how much it was a struggle for me when he actually came into my life. And why was it such a struggle? Like, that sounds kind of crazy to say, but I had found such intimacy with the Lord in my 13 years of singleness. I had really come to find that he satisfied. Again, I didn't do this perfectly, but the Lord was enough. He'd become enough. And I was not left wanting. After all that time and being 35 years old, I was like, I'm 35 and life is still good. I'm still alive and I'm single. Like, I just didn't die and fall off the planet, And the Lord was truly everything I needed. And what I didn't know that I needed, his plans were the best. I mean, I got to do youth group. I got to travel so much because I wasn't tied down. I wasn't like, honey, can I go on this missions trip? I'm going to went on any missions trip I wanted. I went on any girls trip I wanted. I went on any vacation I wanted. I went to Florida every single year with my cousin and her boys. I mean, I got to do some of the sweetest things and have some of the sweetest relationships. I got to be auntie to all of my best friends' kids. I mean, it was just awesome, and it just was really great. So his plans were the best in that. Did I really want to let it go? Was Curtis really worth it? So if you want to know a good measuring stick for if a guy is worth it for your life, ask yourself, am I looking for this person to satisfy me and my needs? Do I need him because I'm trying to fulfill something, that I have this hole in my heart? Or, if I dare say this is probably so sacrilegious, like, I'm like good enough without you. Like, I mean, you kind of got to have you better be like super duper amazing. Like, I mean, have confidence in yourself to be like, I absolutely deserve someone who is amazing and all that in a box of chocolates. Like, that's okay. This is the rest of your life we're talking about when we're talking about a boy. It's okay to be like, he better be Jesus's right-hand man. Like, that is the person that you're looking for. And that should be the expectation that you have, because it's the rest of your life that you spend with this person. So, but what's another question you can ask? Am I looking to him to fill a void? Am I trying to find my identity in something, in someone? Am I trying to find my identity in just being someone that's married? That just a silly, silly thing. This is totally random, but being single, I desperately wanted, when I took trips, oftentimes I would put like a ring on my finger. I know that sounds so weird. It sounds so childish now, but I don't, maybe I shouldn't say childish, because I want to honor where you guys are at. If you might be thinking those same things. They're valid thoughts, but I just wanted a ring on my finger. Like, it sounds so silly, but I wanted that. I wanted to have that. And so I don't even know why I brought that up. I don't even know where I was going with that at one point, but I just remember being like, I'm just gonna go buy a $5 ring and wear it sometimes. Like, I don't know why. That's where I was. So, but anyway, am I looking? Oh, the void and an identity. Was my identity in having a ring on my finger and knowing that I was taken? Was that what my identity was? And my big question that I asked with Curtis, and that I really had to land on, is: are we better together for the kingdom than I am apart? Can I do more with him for the Lord and in my walk with the Lord than I can do by myself? And ultimately, I finally gave in and said yes. So, Lord willing, we are better together for the kingdom. But those were some of the big questions that I had to ask. Is he willing? Does he meet all the standards that I have in my heart and more? And I really encourage you to sit down and think through what those are. What do you really want? What do you really need? Not what you think is like fun. And I don't even know that a measure of like, oh, I think that guy's cute, and so maybe that's the guy. I don't think, honestly, this is so different. I prayed so much that when God brought the person into my life, that I would have no attraction to him to start with. I really wanted to be attracted to his heart and his walk with the Lord. And then I just trusted that the Lord was going to bring attraction later, because guess what? It comes, and it comes pretty quickly, especially if he's the right one. So I wanted my emotions and my like, oh, I want a boy. I wanted that out of the way so that I could focus so much on who he was with his walk with the Lord. What was he doing with his life? How is God using him in his life? And so that I could get all of those, because let me tell you, those little emotions can also make us feel all the feels and distract us very easily. But so anyway, Curtis finally, I finally gave him, we started dating. And let me tell you, this is where I'll kind of get into the purity part. No matter how much you can walk closely with God in your life, you can have so much intimacy with the Lord, and so can he. Purity will still be a struggle. It will be a struggle. It's going to be a struggle when you're dating now. It's going to be a struggle, especially if it's someone that you're engaged to and you're like, this is the guy I want to spend the rest of my life with. And praise God, we didn't go as far as having sex, but that sex cannot be the measure in which we say, but I haven't had sex, so I'm good. That's not honoring to God. That's not pleasing to God. Don't look for a man. If you have to keep a man around because he's like, oh, if you don't kiss me, I'm going to just break up with you. Or, oh, if you don't lay down on the couch with me. I mean, if he's making you do all those things and that's the reason why you have to stay around and he's making you stay with him, he is not worth it. They should really care and be about your purity. They should be respecting you. And you shouldn't have to keep them around by the things that you do for him or to him. That is no reason to keep a guy around. They are not worth it, let me tell you. But I will have to say one thing. As much as I wanted Curtis to lead in this area, and I'm not slamming or knocking him, girls, you have to lead in the purity area. You have to be the one that's strong. Those guys, they struggle. They struggle a lot. And so you have to, it's okay to lead in this area. You're not married yet. He's not the leader of your home. He's not the leader of you. It's okay. You're still just dating. You're not bound to him for submission, and that's a whole other story. So lead in that area, and it's okay for you to say no, and it's okay for you to shut it down, and it's okay for you to tell him what's up and what's going to happen and why it's going to happen. And if he can't deal with that, see ya. Like, you're not worth it. So those are some big challenges for you in that area. And even now, even in dating, it doesn't, like, that purity starts now. But it starts now, too, not just in a relationship. It's with what you watch. Oh, man, there's so many things, especially on Netflix right now, that are so, whoa. They're out there when it comes to sex. So be careful what you watch and what you fill your mind with, because it's filling your mind with garbage, and it's nothing at all of any kind of reality or anything that's real or true or anything. So I don't know, just stay off of Netflix. No, I'm just kidding. I like Netflix. So anyway, oh man, back on track. Okay, and Satan, this is another point. Satan definitely wants to see all of us fail in this area of purity. He wants to take everybody down. I've heard it said, 1,000 times, Satan will do everything in his power to get you together with someone before marriage, get you into bed with someone before marriage, and then he'll do everything in his power to get you apart and out of bed with your spouse once you're married. He does not want anything that's good and right and true when it comes to anything sex-related or any kind of purity whatsoever. So know that any of that is from him. And remember that your identity is first and foremost in God, because that is huge. If we're secure in our identity with the Lord, and if we find our satisfaction, it's fully in the Lord, and we're satisfied in the Lord, we're not looking for that in other ways, which would be, you can paint the picture of all the things that you could do. So anyway, so eventually we did get married. 5 years in this October, which is kind of fun. And I can really truly say that he does have, the best in mind for me. He had the best plans. His ways were best. Because Curtis, it's been so fun, and I'm just so thankful. And I could not have imagined, I could not literally have dreamed up my husband. You'd think after 13 years I've come up with a pretty good plan of what I wanted and who that would look like, but I could not have dreamed him up. Sorry, I didn't expect to get emotional there. But imagine my surprise that after getting married and after finally getting what I wanted, that didn't fully satisfy me. I still had all those same feelings that I had when I was single, and almost more so. I almost was more lonely in marriage than I was when I was single. This kind of sounds crazy to say, and it's nothing against Curtis. Curtis is great. If you guys know him, he's just amazing. So it's nothing against him, but I find myself so oftentimes missing my singleness. I have yet to achieve the intimacy that I had with the Lord in my marriage, in my single years. I've yet to achieve that kind of intimacy now on this side of marriage that I had back when I was single. And I think that's why Paul says in 1 Corinthians 7:8 that it is good for people to remain single as I am. And I was always like, why does he say it is good to remain single? But I think it's for that reason. No pun intended, but I had a single-minded focus. I didn't have, I come home now and I think of him. What are we, even the funny dinner thing, he is my partner in life. So he is on my mind, and I do want to please him. And it is part of my job as a wife to take care of him and love him and honor him and respect him and to have a marriage that's glorifying and honoring to God. And that takes my mind and my thoughts going to my husband. But that means my mind and my thoughts are divided, and they're not as fully with the Lord as they were when I was single. So after all that time, I knew, I think in my single years, I knew. I know a man's not fully going to satisfy. I had plenty of married friends telling me how married life was, and I knew, listen to you and your struggles with marriage. Yeah, whatever, you don't even really know. Well, yeah, they do really know. It is hard, and there is loneliness, and no person is ever intended to fully satisfy us. Only God is the one that can satisfy us. So even the love of your life, the stars in your eyes, the movie star dream marriage, even that comes along and that still doesn't satisfy. It is only the Lord that can really, truly satisfy that longing and that desire in your heart. And I still get lonely. I still find myself looking to Curtis to fulfill me. And when we're struggling and when we're wrestling, I'm just like, man, we're off. Why are we off? And why am I frustrated with him? He's not even doing anything. Oh, it's because I'm looking to him. I'm not looking to the Lord. I'm not in where I'm at in my thoughts with the Lord, in my walk with the Lord. The Lord is not satisfying me right now in my heart. So I'm trying to look for Curtis to do that in all of these things. So people will let you down, but the Lord is the one who will never leave you or forsake you. So, all that to say, In your waiting, because you're waiting right now, you are single, you are waiting for God to bring someone into your life, work on your relationship with the Lord. I know you guys probably hear that every single week, that your relationship with the Lord matters. Time in the Word matters. It matters for so many things beyond just because it's what God tells you to. And God is not some killjoy. He's not sitting here saying, I used to think surrender was like, if I surrendered to Jesus, I'd wear a jean skirt and go down to the Amazon and work in the jungles. Like, that's what it meant for surrender, but that's not what God's asking us. He's just asking us to surrender our plans, surrender our life so that he can give us the best. He wants to give us the best. So work on that. Let him satisfy all of your hurts, all of your desires, all of your heartaches, and your needs and your wants, because he is enough for you right now. Can you release your plans for him and delight yourself in the Lord? I love that verse, Proverbs 37:4. Delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. I think in the early years of my singleness, I really clung on to that verse. I'm like, I'm delighting in you, Lord, and you're just going to give me what I want. Well, he didn't right away. And I think when you're delighting in him, you'll find that your desires are his desires. So all of a sudden, your desires of your hearts are filled, and you just didn't even know it because you were delighting in him. And so he was fulfilling desires of your heart. It didn't mean that he was fulfilling like next step and check mark box and the kids and so want to know who to date and who to marry and how to stay pure. Go back to making sure that your relationship with the Lord is where it needs to be, because he will lead and guide you to that right and perfect person. If he has all of your days numbered, I need to make sure I'm good on time. I'm almost done. If he does have all of your days numbered, then he knows who he has in mind for you. And all these things help you navigate through life, being satisfied in him and realizing that he's enough. And there's so many things in life. I mean, here we are 5 years into marriage, and the Lord has not seen fit to give us kids yet after 5 years. And, that's supposed to be the next thing again, Lord. Like, here we are again, back at the beginning. What's supposed to come next is kids, and that's just not coming, and that's just not happening. So what do you do when then that happens? Yet again, something is not coming naturally like it's just supposed to. What do? You go back to, is my satisfaction in the Lord? He's led me 40 years of my life now. He's not going to stop now. Like, he's not going to stop giving me what I need and giving me good things all of a sudden, just now. If he's given me joy and what I need right now for 40 years, he's going to give it to me for another 40 years. And if that doesn't end up being the kids, then the Lord is enough. And he has to be. So if you can learn some of these things and really dig into your intimacy and your walk with the Lord, it's those things that are going to be the foundation that are going to help you when it comes to a relationship. And because those things are good, and I just can't wait to see who God brings into your life and who God has for you guys. But just remember that God is so much more than that too. And he wants to give you good things in marriage and with the relationship and in sex. He wants to give you so many good things in that. But he wants to be the first place first. He wants to be the most important thing and the thing that's overflowing your life, so that the other things and the other good things that he brings into it is just icing on the cake. So I'm going to close our time in prayer. And I think, I don't know, is it time to go right after this, or how does that go? Oh, okay. Lord, thank you for this time with these girls. And I just thank you for the opportunity to share my story with them. Thank you for, Lord, the story that you've given me. It's obviously not how I would have planned or seen fit. But Lord, your ways are higher than my ways. And your thoughts towards me are higher than the thoughts that I have. And your ways are perfect. And so I thank you for that. And Lord, I just pray over each and every one of the girls in this room. Lord, I pray that they would desire a deep, deep relationship with you, that the most important relationship in their life would be their walk with you, and that you would fully satisfy the needs and the desires of their heart, and that you would give them the desires of their heart too, Lord, and whatever that may be in the timing that you see fit. And Lord, we just thank you for who you are and who you are to us, and I thank you for this time with these gals. In your name I pray, amen.